Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood, so I am relentless.
All right, we're here, the Keep Hammering Collective. This is episode 2 with Justin Waller. How are you doing?
Glad to be here. I think the hard part's over. So yeah. Good day. Good day.
We've had a full day for sure.
Yeah.
Lift, run, shoot. Been great to share it with you. I just want to say, as an intro, the reason why I reached out about having you come on is that you caught my attention on Jedediah's podcast. And I liked, you were talking about business, you were talking about your struggles coming up as a businessman. And then I see, then I look at your Instagram and I see like this lifestyle. I'm like crazy, lavish, looks like so successful. And it's like, I'm like, that's a journey. That's a journey that I think I could learn from. So tell me about, what's the story of Justin Waller?
Man, I grew up in South Louisiana. I always joke when I'm somewhere really nice, like Dubai, I'll be like, man, this is a long way from the trailer park, So I grew up in the South. My dad was a cotton farmer, and he, it didn't work out there. So he went into managing restaurants, managed a little chain called Mr. Cook, and then was doing McDonald's. Met my mom in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Didn't have the best childhood. I think I've told that story a million times. So anybody watching me knows about that. And in a lot of ways, I saw what I didn't want to become. And I think people see things, and they either follow that route or they kind of go away from it. I kind of went away from it.
Right.
Very blessed for that childhood.
What was challenging?
Well, I mean, it was, we were poor. There was a good bit of violence and screaming and a bunch of custody courts, police, a lot of physical altercations in front of us, things like that. Things I would not change, though. I like to be very, very clear about that. I feel very, very lucky to have had, certain things or see certain things in my life. And then I decided to, go to college and go that route, play football. Graduated in 2009, though. So I thought I was going to get this job in Dallas, Right. That didn't work out. So I had actually read Rich Dad Poor Dad my junior year on the way to play Arkansas. I was telling you about that. And I even said that on Jedediah. It's like, because I'm a bit dyslexic, so it's like I read it once, but I really kind of read it 5 times.
Right.
So it sunk in. And so I knew what I wanted to do, but I thought I was going to get a job and transition from stacking some money up to going into a job. Didn't really work out that way. I ended up waiting tables, ended up getting a job. I saved up enough money to apply for my contractor's license.
Okay.
And again, I did finally get a job around 2010. But, youngest one in, last one in, first one out on the layoffs.
Right. Oh, okay.
So
what was the job?
I was working right outside of New Orleans, doing a levee project.
Okay.
In a little town called Braithwaite. So we're driving piles like 150 something feet in the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was where the wild things are too. Alligators, hogs, everything was out there. And it was one of those situations where it's like, you're living off per diem. You're working 12 hours a day, but you're stacking that money up.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
And ramen noodles aren't that bad.
Right.
Rotisserie chicken's not that bad. And I knew I had a goal.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then because I got laid off, I didn't really have an option. When I was a little boy, I would work for my stepdad. He'd do metal buildings in backyards. So I kind of had that consciousness.
Right.
And
so you didn't have a job and you're like, now what?
Now what?
Right.
So, I mean, I was already broke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I did is I took that money and what was happening is I was living off the per diem and I knew I wanted to start the business.
Right.
So I went to the bank and had the lady auto draft my check into this other account where I wouldn't see it.
Okay.
Because you had to have a net worth of $10,000.
Right.
And I didn't have it. Nobody had it, right?
Okay.
Not in my family. So once I had done that, I took the money, I applied for my license for residential.
Yeah.
And then I took the money and put it in another bank. And then when I applied for my commercial, I don't know if I had to do that or not. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I want to make for damn sure, and that'd be 12 years ago in March. So
12 years.
12 years.
Seems like it's been, 12 years.
Bro, it seems like it's been forever,
but the growth too. I mean, could you have anticipated where you'd be now back then?
You know what's funny is when I was 24, I set goals that I was not yet qualified to make. So when I got to 30 and I wasn't where I thought I was supposed to be, I was upset. Right. But what I didn't realize, I'd gone from 2 guys in 1 truck to 5 trucks and 30 guys.
Right.
And
so you're on your way up. You just you just had huge aspirations.
Man, you have that, you had that, all these big goals, millionaire by 30. Now the business was doing 2 million,
right,
3 million.
Yeah.
At the time. But it's very hard to be profitable. I had scaling issues.
Yeah.
I got thumped. I should have went bankrupt so many times. I remortgaged my house a bunch of times to cut. I've never missed a payroll.
Okay.
But I've been fucking close.
Yeah.
Man. I've been real close.
Right.
And I've had all kinds of things happen. I've had steel fall. I've had roofs leak. I've had guys get cut wide open.
Oh man.
I've had trucks stolen. I bought my own tools back from the pawn shop.
Yeah.
It's the game, So you get, I took some hits. We pivoted about 4 years ago. And I just stayed in the same game long enough to, you take that jab enough time to eventually you slip it.
Right.
It's just like a fight out in the schoolyard, man. Eventually you roll on top, you better get your licks in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And it worked. I found the systems and the structure that really worked for me. I got a lot of help, read a lot of books, paid for a lot of consulting. I didn't pay for college because of football, but I certainly paid to learn. Yeah.
Well, even like being young, and you said you want to be a millionaire by 30. Where was that? Where was that dreaming from? I mean, why was that? Because most people, like, I'll just speak for myself. You come up, you just want to get a good job. You want to get a job that pays the bills. Maybe if you play the game right, you can buy a house and a decent truck. Yeah. So where'd this I want to be a millionaire by 30 come?
Overachieving, I guess.
Yeah.
Did
you have people you look up to that?
I did. I tell you what I did in my 20s is I spent a lot of time physically alone, but I never felt alone. I was listening to YouTubers. So like if I had a rough day or any kind of day, like I'd start my day, I'd wake up before, go to the gym. I said this other day, I was like, dude, if you're going to meet God, he's up at 4 a.m. Yeah. Because you can hear your own thoughts,
No distractions.
No distractions. And then you go through physical pain. And then so you come off that euphoric, feeling that the only natural high that I'm truly in love with, It's like, that's the best feeling in the world. Right. Like I don't jog, like I'm sure you
did today.
I did today. Fuck. I did today. But so I would do that. And then I'd be listening to a book. So I spent time with authors like Patrick Lencioni. He's got a series of books that I really love. Ideal Team Player, Death by Meeting, Getting Naked, which is about vulnerability with the team. You like remove walls, politics in the business. So there's not like tension that you can't see. You just knock it out, right? And then Robert E. Gerber, E-Myth. And I did E-Myth for 18 months. And it really got me obsessed with systems. Even to the point where I think I over-systematized at some point. And so a lot of growth for me came from over-systematizing the business and forgetting the people part for a little while. Okay. Right. And so I've really kind of found myself evolve into the sweet spot of both. Like we still close a month out, right? We still have a project process. We're still doing safety, quality, production. Right. Have a very tight system for hiring where we can extract out whether somebody's kind of fibbing about how good they are. Right. So things like that. Putting the right people and the right dynamics in place.
So you consider all that not just the bottom line then? So if the system takes care of itself, the bottom line takes care of itself. Yeah. How do you weight that? Where do you see the importance?
So there's systems and there's culture. So if you can get a good culture and systems, because I want, what's most important to me in my business when it comes to my people is intention. Because if I got somebody that wants to do a good job, more than likely. So you ever heard somebody say some of the smartest people in the world make things the simplest? Right. Yeah. So instead of using big words or trying to do this crazy thing, if you take somebody that has pure intention and you set them up to be graceful, and what I mean by that is like if they have naturally the right demeanor for the position. Right. So if I have an estimator, I don't need him to be a people person. I need him to almost have an engineer's mind.
Right.
So he's looking at the details in a different way. He's not going to miss a number. He's not going to not read a little note on the side. You know this. You've read drawings.
Right.
You miss one little note in a set of drawings.
Yeah.
And the building's 200,000 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
That one little detail is going to go all the way down that building.
Yeah.
And that could cost you quite a few man hours.
Right.
So I want that kind of person in this role because he's going to be graceful in this role.
Right.
Whereas if you have, let's say, a superintendent, you want him to have some soft skills.
Right.
You don't want him yelling MFer from across the slab.
Right.
Because now you've put that man in the corner. He's got to quit.
It's a big part of management is relationships.
Right.
Yeah. Getting the most out of people. They have to believe in you. You have to believe in them. Yeah.
Right. And so putting people at the right seat on the bus, where they're naturally the right seat on the bus, and then systems, and then culturally just pulling them together, you know, and say, guys, this is the goal. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And then I incentivize my people, you know. I wrote my ops manager, which is a woman in construction, a $30,000 bonus check last week.
Really?
Yeah, and I was happy to do it. If I could have made it a golf check, I would have. and I'm going to tell you something too. Next year, I think it's going to be bigger.
Really?
Yeah. Construction's going to do all right.
And that's another thing that drew me to you is that I don't know. I love labor. I love the guys who are actually out there doing the work. You know, I've got an affinity towards fighting for those guys because that's what I did at my other job as construction guys. And I felt like management would somehow overvalue themselves. And I'm like, no, these are the guys doing the work. Yeah. And that's what I heard in your story also is the guy, you talked about relationships and the guys and communications. And how do you, I know, where is that affinity from? Because you did it yourself?
Absolutely. But then you got to understand the world doesn't run without these guys. You know, we could be as good as we want in the office. If they don't turn up at 6 a.m. And get on that roof in the sun, it doesn't happen. If men don't build roads, if what you do to put the water under the roads isn't done, then people don't have water. Yeah. And I think one thing that we mess up, particularly in society, or I think social media causes a lot, is we forget the guys that make this world go around.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I love soldiers with all my heart. And I think I love anybody that stands up for soldiers. And I'm not comparing the two. But what I am saying is I don't think we appreciate the men that build this country enough. Right. Because without them, we don't have them all. Right. We don't have a house without a framer. We don't have a toilet without a plumber. And I think that a time will come when enough young men check out to drop ship and do other things where there's going to be a YouTuber one day and saying, hey, the new hack is if you know how to roof. Right. You know, you made that point earlier today. Dude, it's going to happen. Talking about plumbers and about the people doing the work, because you're right. It's I don't know. It's a process where ups and downs, things are valued, things are devalued, but man, that skill of labor and making a product, that is going to come back. You're right. And it is a skill. Yeah. Let me just say this. When we were talking last night, I was really, you remember I was telling you about my general superintendent. He's been putting these buildings up since before I've been alive. Right. He's 52 or 4 he's 52, or something. Yeah. And I called him up because we were talking about him, and I was like, man, I haven't called him in a couple of weeks. So I called him this morning, and I gave him an assignment. I said, listen, go buy yourself a steak. Take Johnny, which is the supervisor on the job we're doing in Georgia. Send me a picture of you two eating a steak. You know, because when I think about him and I think about the skills it takes for him to do what he does, when he has to get a 200, 300, 400, 800,000 square foot building plumb and square. Yeah. That's not a normal skill. Right. It's a dying skill. Right. And if he gets that wrong, when we go to put the roof on, the roof's going to be crooked. Yeah. And that's expensive. Yeah. So he's insurance just as much as he is a guy out there working in the field. Bullshit. Right. He's also training the next generation of guys. What I think is tricky for us is that because if a young man goes on a date with a girl, let's say, I've had it happen to me. Yeah. What do you do? Oh, well, I do metal buildings. Yeah. She's gonna be like, I'm not with a tech guy last night. What? Metal buildings? What are you, a scrub? Right. You know, but they don't, you can be country balling too.
Yeah.
But I think that it's harder for a young man today to take pride in working with his hands because he gets on Facebook and he feels like he's lost.
Right.
Because he's not drop shipping from a beach. Now, I push the real world. And I do think the real world is one of the best online schools ever to be. It is the best online school ever to be assembled. If you want to work on the internet, the real world is the thing to do. Because the guys that are teaching those classes about how to drop ship or do FBA or copyright or whatever, they actually have businesses where they are literally millionaires from that business, which makes them automatically 10x better than college. So if you want to take that route, if you have an affinity for those things, I think it's good. But I think if a young man likes to work with his hands, and he doesn't want to drop ship or copyright, we somehow need to figure out a way to make that respectable in society, so he can get the positive feedback he deserves. So for me to come on a podcast and say it, is not a problem. Not a problem, because I've packed sheet, I've put roof on. It's hot. Dude, it is physically and mentally tough. So I respect the guys that build the country, and I'll never come off of that.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, there's Jordan Peterson has a clip where he's talking about the guys who are breaking their backs to keep this country afloat or lit up, the electricians, the linemen, the construction workers. And I mean, I love it because I do feel like those guys don't get the respect they deserve, and they do bust their ass every day.
It's hard.
And I know it must be tough. You come home from work, you're trying to pay the bills. You go online like everybody does, and they see all these people with money, and that must be like, man, what am I doing wrong? And that's why I was interested in your story, how you went from like just a guy getting by paying the bills to now you mentioned Dubai. And I mean, it looks like it's like everybody's dream as far as money goes. And it's just like, it feels like if you did it, couldn't others do it? Right? I mean, if you have that hunger, you have the passion that you mentioned. And then also what I've picked up from you is you're always learning. So you mentioned the books you listen to, you mentioned many authors, which I think that's key, because I don't think a lot of people read books like they could and learn from, the experts in the field. But I also have picked up something else from you. If, you talk about Dubai and you talk about property you've invested in and buying, and it seems like you're diversified in where that money's coming in. I've heard like you talk about 4 or 5 different things that's making you money. Some of it is, you said $500 an hour, and then some of it is millions of dollars investments, but it's all positive. It's all coming in. So is that intentional, multiple money streams, or how do you see income?
Yeah. So I think Grant Cardone says this, I say this a lot, but the formula for wealth is you get competent, you learn how to make money. And then you have to protect the money from a tax perspective. And then you make it grow. So for me, my goal was always to get to real estate through construction. It was always the goal.
Always real estate.
It was always real estate. But if you really study real estate, and everybody has their own way. So I'm not dissing it. Anybody that starts off and they buy single family houses or whatever, that's fine. But the property I just bought, I'll give you an example, 3.7 million, 64 units. We're going to raise the rents. But what I really, really, really want is the depreciation against my active income in the construction business.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki talks about this a lot. He's like, what you want it to get wealthy is you want good debt. Good debt cash flows and depreciates. Okay.
Like good debt, explain that.
Yeah, good debt. So good debt is like my property, let's say, it's around an 8 cap. So I'm going to get positive cash flow from it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire an engineer to do a cost segregation study and depreciate the property.
I see.
So Tom Wheelwright has a book called Tax-Free Wealth. And his goal of the book, in my opinion, is to get people to look at the IRS as a partner, not somebody stealing from them.
Right. That's a huge shift.
It is a major shift. And the reason it's a major shift is that the government knows they're slow. They know the private sector is substantially faster and will work more efficiently than they will.
Right.
So instead of them going out and trying to do it themselves, they'll create tax breaks or depreciations.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I buy my property and it cash flows, and I depreciate it, let's say the depreciation goes past the cash flow.
Okay.
Just for an example.
Yeah.
So that means all that money I made, I don't pay taxes on.
Right.
Anything that's left over, I can put against my active income in my business.
Okay.
So let's say I'm an S corp, and I am.
Yeah.
I take a salary. I get to save money because, like, when you're an employee of your own business, I don't have to match FICA, Medicaid, so you save like 7%, right?
Right.
But I'm still in a pretty good tax bracket, right? So all that leftover depreciation
Comes off the top of that.
Comes off of that.
Yeah.
So let's say that's an extra 20 grand. So I pay, so my taxable income is 20 grand less. So I want as much debt as I can get so I can depreciate
Right.
against my active income.
I see.
And that's why guys like Trump don't want to show their taxes, not because he broke any laws, just because he's piss people off.
Well, because he's good at what he does.
He's good.
He's good with
bro,
money.
he's a GOAT, bro. He's a man, bro. I love Trump. So
Did you read his book?
The Art of the Deal? Yeah.
Yeah.
I read it. I'll tell you another thing about Trump I like.
Okay.
I do this model. His construction manager was a woman. And my ops manager and my team, all women.
Okay.
You know, now, not the guys in the field.
Right.
But I got like 6 women in the office. I send them all to roofing school. They know all the parts of the building. They know, like, I literally train them myself. They know the game. Right. You know, they've run screw guns. They get it. Right. And for that reason, so they haven't run a screw gun for a job. No. But they just know the process. So you do that so they know the process. No, they've literally put roof panel on. Okay. Like, they literally put panel on. And that's so they have a better perspective on when they're making decisions from the office. And so they can have a conversation. Okay. And so when they see something on a checklist, they're like, oh, I know what a clip is. I know what an MR24 roof panel is. Okay. I know what Butler is versus American or Nucor, all these big metal building manufacturers. I know what a gird is, Perlin. They know the parts of the building. Because I think that's important because guys are always looking for something to be like, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Did you hear that? Yeah, so it's like just not even knowing the lingo, even if you've nailed everything else, because you don't know the one lingo thing that guys talk about, they'll discount everything that they've said. So I think that's smart. Yeah, no, bro, and they're killers too. And you know, I was telling you about this. Is like one thing I really want to clear up this year because of the space I'm in, and some, you know, and some of the collabs I do is that like, I don't think women are stupid, bro. Right. Women are very, very powerful if you put them in the right place. Right. Men and women are equal. They're good at different things. Yeah. And what in your business, what's a woman better at? Why do you have women in those key positions? Cool. So they're very organized. I feel like they are quicker to be on board with a mission. You know, I mean, my guys are, man, they love me. Yeah. You know, like I don't have a lot of beef with my guys. Right. But also, I'm big enough where my guys know that if they get fresh with me, I'll just fire them and replace them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So with men, I think it comes down to respect and like, what can this person do? You know? So when I'm like, hey, listen, Eric, tie off on the roof, you know, but I don't do that anymore. And the reason why is because why I threaten him? Because he's going to want to men want to do this. Right. Yeah, they want to lock horns. Yeah, they want to. It's just natural. I'm not even mad at the guy for it. Right. So why art of war? Why fight the war? Yeah. No, Elliot, tell Eric to tie off. Hey, Eric, tie off. Yes, ma'am. I'll do it for you. Sorry about that. Yeah. Click. Done. Why? Yeah. It's not the ego challenge. Why? I don't need the boost. Yeah. I know I can fire you, bro. I don't want. Dude, I love you. I don't want to fight. Like, but I tell you another thing. He might have gotten a fight with his wife last night. Right. He might have went to the bar with the guys. It's hot as hell outside. Right. You don't know what's weighing in. I don't know what's going on. Like I don't, you know. And so to me, man, it's way less about ego and more about like, what can we do to get it done? How can I set the formula up and the plays up for it to run smoothly? Putting people in positions to succeed. Yeah. I feel like that's not my number one job, is to set people up to be graceful. Right. And then love them anyway. Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of things that why you think women are better in those positions. Was there anything else? I wouldn't say that they're just really good. Okay. I just, you know, I know that, you know, most of my industry is men, and very clearly they're good. Look at the things that we built in this world. Yeah. You know, I think for what we're doing and how we do it and how we're set up, it works for us. if you look at the totem pole of a project, you have, investor, and he's tied to investor owner, and then you have architect, and then you have general contractors, and then you have a project manager and a site superintendent, and you have subs, and then you have the guys that work for the sub. And we're a subcontractor, so that puts us down here. We're just good at it, and we got a bunch of men, and we do it. So, for where we are and what we do, no man, they're really, really good. And Trump did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, I do call them my Trojan horses, because if one of my girls has to really rip somebody's ass, there's no ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you can get a lot more done without ego.
Yeah. Definitely. I think there's a saying, ego kills.
It does, man.
I mean, that's a known thing. And I do know ego with men. I know how men are, I know how it works. I know how everybody wants to be the man, but that communication can be challenging. I mean, ego is enemy. And maybe how you have it set up, maybe that is the best way to go. Right. And how Trump, in the art of the deal, he explains it.
I do have, obviously there's way more men in the company. We have 165 people. I got 6 women.
Right.
And there's managers in the field. There's supervisors, there's field foremen.
How does the structure break up from labor to management, so to speak?
So you have to have somebody on site competent.
Yeah.
Right. Because the drawings, and laying things out and making sure that, we're making proper lift plans and working with the safety and doing JSAs and handling time sheets and pulling the boys out. Look, I don't have many Boy Scouts working for me.
Yeah.
It's nothing for me to get a call saying, hey, the guys got drunk and they got in a bar fight and the cops are looking for the trucks and my logo's on the trucks. So, I've had it all happen. They burned down an Airbnb last year. I got a video, I guess like 6 months ago. Yeah. 2 of them just fist fighting in the hallway in the hotel.
God.
Like bleeding. Both of them took their shirts off. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? I'm about to whip both y'all's ass.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like one of them peed on the others. Look, stuff happens, man.
Yeah.
But that's just the industry.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
I used to super get stressed out about that.
Yeah.
But now, man, it's like, man, I've been through it.
Right. So of the 165 of the, how many, say 100 workers, or what would you say? How many laborers actually putting up the buildings? I don't know. I was just trying to figure out if management.
Well, so we have working foremen. We run a 6-man crew, so whatever 165.
Okay.
And then we have a couple extra guys. They'll go around if they fit. Buildings settle.
Right.
We're talking about how standing seam roofs work. They expand and contract with heat. Well, a lot of times that'll push mastic out. That goes in between. So so when that building needs to go through a couple cycles, sometimes it'll leak or sometimes the guys mess up. Nobody's perfect, but we'll have guys that'll go behind and fix something, whatever. So however that math works out, but it's definitely interesting. It's not boring. So.
No, and also you mentioned how you have women in your company, but you said you wanted to clear that up because of some of the collaborations you have.
I think that sometimes in the space that there's a witch hunt for women. And I do know that there's a lot of good women in this world. And there's a lot of women I very much respect. My women being first in line.
Right.
And I know it's that respect and that care and that communication and that adult relationship where you respect each other that gets me where I am. And I would never take that away from them.
Right. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Is that you say that to dispel like everybody gets labeled as toxic and masculine and all this?
Yeah, but nobody wants a man to be strong until it's time to protect somebody. You know what I'm saying?
I've heard that about cops. Everybody wants to defund the police until they actually need somebody with a gun.
I think that's one of the hardest jobs in the world right now. You want to talk about unappreciated? Yeah. You can't even do your job without worrying about going to jail.
Oh, I know.
And you want to talk about underpaid.
Yeah.
And I'll put teachers in that basket as well.
Yeah, I know. We're putting a lot of responsibility on teachers and law enforcement, and man, the backlash very much outweighs the benefit a lot of times. So yeah, I think that compensation needs to, I don't know, address that.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's a tough, those are tough gigs for sure.
Yeah. So I know where you're at now. Where do you see, what's the future hold? Where's your goals now? I mean, you said even when you're early 20s, you want to be a millionaire by 30. So now what? Now you're 37?
Yeah, I just turned 37 a couple weeks ago. So
still young, by the way.
I know. I feel old though. I get what you're saying, and I know you're right, but it's hard. So there's monetary goals for the company.
Yeah.
There's certainly a number of doors we're trying to hit this year. You know, at a certain return. So we're looking at
that's purchasing.
Yes,
that's what you mean.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if we're buying apartments or trailer parks, you know, we're looking between 8 and a 10 cap. We really want to be able to, you know, put that money back into the properties because we don't, you know, already the interest rates are high, so we need to offset that.
Right.
And hopefully 2024 goes, you know, the right way, and the interest rates fall, we'll refinance and keep buying properties. I definitely want to buy enough property to offset my income because we're definitely going to continue to grow the construction company.
Right.
I want to definitely broaden my influence online and help young men. I've never done such fulfilling work in my life.
Really?
Because if I build a building,
and
there's no issues, nobody calls me and says good job. But there's nothing like getting 100 messages a day saying, "Hey man, you're changing my life. Keep doing God's work."
Right.
And I think it's definitely something worth working on. I don't have a problem working for the young men.
Right.
That means everything to me. I had my struggles. I still have my struggles. We were talking about that earlier. I'm not perfect. There's things that are on my mind all the time. You need to get better at this. You need to dude, that voice never goes away.
Right.
You know, and I want to be the first one to say that.
So, you know? and that's because you didn't have anybody to ask those questions or when you were that age. So you're trying to be that for somebody like you or what's the calling?
I don't know if it's from some lack that I have. It's just that I feel like if I can be helpful, truly helpful,
make a difference,
hat in hand, I think everybody wants to do something great and something bigger than themselves. I don't think it's, you know, and like I told you, I do the shit for me. I already make money.
Right.
I just want to do something that makes me feel like a good person and I know I'm helping people.
Right.
And I think that's very human. I think most people are good people. It's not the bad person I worry about. It's the desperate person I worry about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Have you had somebody who you've helped over the years that now is just balling?
Dude, I've done it in quite a few things. I'm actually helping this guy right now. He's starting a construction business. And my financial advisor, my guy, Edward Jones, he was like, "Hey, call this guy." So I've been talking to him a lot. I've helped people with their fitness a lot. Not as a trainer, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like the best way to do it is the way I'm doing it now on the macro. Because when I do those AMAs, man, I get questions and I feel like I'm able to answer them honestly and help those guys out. And I'm not, the kid that asked me the question is not the only one with the question.
Right. Yeah. He's just the one saying it.
He's just the one saying it.
Yeah.
So, in a lot of ways, you know, I feel like I'm really helping a lot of people. It makes me feel good, man.
Yeah.
It does.
So it's not so much, you know, financial being a millionaire, but it's just making a positive difference in their life, whether it's fitness, mindset, money. So the one guy who you said, I asked if, you know, you've helped somebody turn into a baller, the guy who you said your guy at Edward Jones wanted you to call. So he's killing it.
He's just getting started, but I will tell you this.
Okay.
The guy that does my YouTube, I give him a pretty decent cut of how we do everything. Yeah. And he travels the world with me. He goes everywhere. He sees every construction meeting. He sees everything. And I'm really, really proud of him because he's young. I think he's 21.
Okay.
He's sitting on like 75K. Man. And I'm like, you're about to push that in a mobile home park deal.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
That is awesome. Like, I mean, at that age to be able to invest.
It's ridiculous. And the stuff he gets to see.
So far ahead of the, right.
Yeah. He gets to see it all.
You've exposed him to you pulled the curtain back basically is what it is,
it's
right? It's
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been on private jets. He's been to Dubai multiple times. He's been all over Europe with me. When I go home, he lives in my house, feed him. He's like my son.
That's pretty
He's
unique
like my
for,
son, man.
for a 21-year-old.
Yeah, it's really cool and it's really fulfilling for me. I love him to death, man. He works really hard.
I'm trying to think. When I was 21, I worked at this warehouse we drove by because you looked at the concrete wall. Yeah. I worked there for $4.72 an hour.
Shut up.
So I was not on a private jet in Dubai. I know that,
man. I tell you, when I was just going to football practice and trying to pass, class.
Oh man. I mean, so your goal is just to continue to grow all facets of your business, including the coaching. And then that property in Dubai, are you buying property in Dubai, or where was that?
So I bought a 7-bedroom villa in Dubai, and it's really Andrew and Tristan Tate's fault. Really, we're sitting there, they're joking around. They're like, "Well, you should buy. We could be neighbors and we could wave at each other." And it just a joke turned into like, "Okay, let's do it."
How did you come in contact with? How'd that friendship form?
So I joined the War Room. And that's Andrew's group. There's a lot of groups of men, and for me, I've done Vistage.
I've seen a million of them, and you're like wondering, is this legit? Is this guy he's just trying to get my money? Is he going to help me? So the War Room must be proven.
Bro, it was one of the best things I ever did. And I've joined a bunch of these groups and gone through the motions. And I still do groups like this because I feel like you meet group people. Like I'm in Tony Robbins' Business Platinum group. And it's one of those high-paying groups where you hang out with Tony and like, they bring in people like Ray Dalio to teach you about money because I'm trying to grab consciousness. Yeah, but I'll never like Andrew Tate's one of the most wonderful human beings I've ever met in my life. I hate everything that's going on. Like, love him with all my heart. Yeah, like I'll die on that mountain with you, bro. Yeah, let's get on that hill. Where's the sword? Why is the enemy of the state, so to speak? I mean, what's going on? He's got the hearts of young men. He's got the hearts of young men, and that's a threat. Yeah, absolutely, and. In the real world, I post 3 to 5 stories every day of some kid that's not even out of freaking high school yet, making $3-4 grand, $5 grand, $6 grand, 10 grand, sometimes 20 grand in a month. Yeah. The real world is legit because like I said before, the difference between going to college and joining the real world is the guy that's teaching you in the real world is actually making a bunch of money doing it right now. And he's saying, hey, if you go on Twitter and say this, this, and this, and you write your copy like this, it's going to convert to a sale. Right. And these kids are hungry. Right. Because the difference, I think, between kids now and like when I was a kid, I didn't have social media. Right. So your world was small. It was small. Yeah. I think that young men particularly are more entrepreneurial than they've ever been. Right. And they took all the heroes away from the kids. There's no Rambo. There's no G.I. Joes. So what do you have? You got Top G, bro. Get some, bro. Tristan Tate, Andrew Tate. Obviously I spent a lot of time with them. Yeah, Myron Gaines, Sterling Cooper, all of them, man. Brandon Carter, man. These are good dudes. They're solid guys, and they speak the truth and they say some things that people don't like. Right. And look, people might not like it, but it doesn't mean it's not true. Right. And a lot of times that's how it happens. Yeah. And it's definitely resonating with young men. I mean, I see the audio and it's like, it's hard not to like jump on board. You like hear somebody say with that much passion and conviction and it sounds good. And you're just like, God dang. He's one of the most passionate men you'll ever meet. I'm ready to run through a wall for this guy. Dude. Yeah. It's like, but it's hard because there's those people who have that natural leadership or that something about him, that it factor. Yeah. He's a fucking hero, and he's going through adversity, but I believe that any man that achieves anything in this world will go through fire. And he's just going through his. Yeah. Trump went through his. They tried to go after Joe, right? Yeah. Bro. Anybody at the top, bro, they're coming. Joe's a GOAT, bro. What are you going to do? Yeah, he's in, I think the reason why he's, I don't want to say untouchable or uncancelable, but people have listened to him so much for hours a day. They know they can't, they're not going to buy the BS because they know Joe, because you can't fake it for hours every day. Bro. If you don't like Joe Rogan, you don't believe in Jesus, bro, straight up. So I don't like whatever. Yeah. And people are tired of that shit. Right. Yeah. And so I think, so they feel like they know him. I don't think people know Andrew Tate or Tristan Tate as well as that because they haven't been exposed to it. They see the hot takes and they're either super offended or motivated and like nothing in between. Well, to Andrew's credit, man, and I always say the best side of Andrew is a side the world never sees. And I do believe that's true, but I also think he's a genius in regards to like he's got it all. You know, he's got the showmanship. He's really good at trolling people. Yeah. You know, he knows what he's doing. And I mean, Joe's not ever going to go where Andrew will go, but I believe with all my heart. Look, if he's guilty of anything, not only am I blind, I'm a fool, because I've been around him way too much. He's done way too much positive for young men. These kids are making money. They're working out. They're working on, you know, their personal skills. They're working on finances. They're understanding economies better. Their geopolitics wasn't on my radar until I joined the war room. So between that and the real world, he's doing way more good for the world than most anybody else. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you say you've seen the best side of him. What is that? What's the best side of Andrew Tate?
He's kind. He's respectful. Staff comes in, he tells them thank you. You know, he does things for people. He helps little kids. You know, I was with him in Dubai, and we were at our buddy Jules' house. You know, this guy's a baller. You know, his son comes. His son wants to learn how to box. Andrew sits there and takes time to teach the kid how to box. You know, we can't go anywhere without him having to take 400 pictures, but he does it. Right. He does it with a smile on his face, man. He didn't have to do that shit. Yeah. You know, he's just a good person. And so is Tristan. Yeah. Tristan's very underrated in regards to, you know, a lot of people that are online because Andrew's there. Right. You know, but they're a team, man. And he has his place in the support of Andrew. And I can't emphasize enough how much I love them boys. So, well, I mean, not coming off of it. I think people could, I mean, if they're going to criticize Andrew or Tristan, especially Andrew, because he's so vocal, and then they see you, they're going to lump you in with that. And right, wrong, or indifferent, fair, life isn't fair. But all I know is from what I've seen today, your effort. And then not only that, but also you were in doing the dishes after we ate lunch. So it's like, people, it's really easy to lump these like, oh, he's toxic. He says this, he does that. And I'm like, I don't know. I've seen firsthand how you are. So if you're going to discount this guy because he knows this guy, it's not really how the world works or how it should work. Man. And dude, if you like me, you'd like Andrew. Yeah. And I have zero doubt. About anything that I say about supporting him in any way. Yeah. I have so little doubt that I'm willing to say it publicly. So burn me with him. Yeah. You know, I don't give a fuck. Burn me with him. You know? Yeah. Because look, when I say hundreds of messages a day, I can't imagine how many he gets. Oh, yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, your vote of confidence, because you know him, means something. I mean, it's not just like the people who want to cancel him because they're offended by something or they're threatened or their movement, the feminine movement is, you know, he's the anti. So I don't know. I think what you say, you know him, you spent time with him. I know the type of person you are, means a lot. I challenge somebody to find somebody that spend any kind of time with him, say they don't like him. Right. Well, that'd be a good test. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. People make these judgments online based on a clip. You know what I mean? And they're ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So absolutely. Yeah, it'd be nice if everybody could spend time with people they don't understand. I mean, I've got plenty of hate too that I've read, and I'm like, well, nobody who's actually hunted with me has ever said this, but whatever. What are you going to do? We all get it, man. It's part of it. You know, I've gotten comfortable in that. That was my biggest insecurity starting. Getting hate? Yeah, well, and it wasn't from hate from strangers. It was like from the people back home. Yeah. It was from the people on my Facebook. That hurts a little more. Yeah, because you care. That hometown hate. You care, bro. You really, I did, you know, and now I don't. And I think I overcorrected in my first year. You know, I was a little bit hot coming in, kind of like I was going to dunk on them. Right. You know, and I think I had to, though. I think it was growth for me. Because if I didn't full send it, like screw you. Yeah. I wouldn't have said it at all. Yeah. And I think, you know, I know me coming up, been a long grind, and it's like, you can never really, everybody makes mistakes. And, you know, when I was young, I was an idiot. I was not smart. I was never thinking about the future. I was thinking about that night and if I was going to get a buzz that night. And, you know, what girls I might see at the rock pit or at the fire or something. And so it was like,
obviously I'm not going to be the very best version of myself. And I feel like sometimes the hometown, you outgrow that, but that still lingers. That those people know you and all the screw ups you've made. And so, but I'm doing good over here. And it's like, it's tough.
Or you've changed and they can accept that you've changed, especially if you're trying to go out there and saying that you've changed into something better or positive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And especially then that comparison kind of reflects on them. Yeah. Because if you're killing it, they're not. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to take a little of his shine because he was a fuck up. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there's a lot to it, man. You got to kill them with love, bro. Because, you're taking their energy anyway. So, I mean, I know that I will say this, though. I had a long conversation with two of my friends from high school. They're married. And they had a lot of questions about like what I say about the male and female dynamic. And I'm so grateful that we had the conversation because just because I'm not going to be traditional, if you will, it does not mean that I don't believe in marriage. And I certainly believe in love and I certainly believe in family. And I'm really glad I was able to have that conversation with them because at the end of it, they realized that it wasn't that I think that they're living their life wrong. It's just that I'm going to live my life one way. And oh, by the way, if something works for you, then I love that for you. I'm not judging that. And so another thing after year one that I'm going to clear up,
Okay. So you had a couple hot takes on marriage.
I had a couple hot takes on a couple things, man. I would say there was about 5 times that I can recall where, either in the moment or whatever, it's not that I particularly disagree with what I said, it was how I said it.
Right.
I want to be graceful and classy, and I want to be a gentleman. And I think when you live in an attention economy in this particular space, it got away from me a couple of times.
Right.
Doesn't mean I don't feel how I feel. It's just I want to make sure I'm sending the right message to the young man watching it.
Right.
And me and Jedediah talked about this when it comes to, being a parent. What do I want?
Yeah.
Well, what I really want is to give my kids the truth of the world, give them the competencies to act on those things so they can create choice. If you have choice in your life and you choose to make a decision and it works for you, I'm not ever going to say that's wrong.
Right.
I said this to her. I said, I could have a little boy. He could be gay. I would still love him.
Yeah.
What I don't want for him is to be in a situation with a partner where he does not have choice or at a job where he does not have choice. If I have given them the truth about how the world works and then given them the competencies to do something about it, whatever they choose to do, I'm fine with. I love you anyway.
Right. Okay.
I'm never going to stop loving you. And I feel the same way about my friends. If that's their truth and that's their world and that's their choice, and they're not hurting me or anybody else, and I'm cool with it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think I think it is important to clarify your stance because when you say so much good things and then people can take something maybe out of context or maybe not a well-developed thought and use that to discount everything else. That's not good. So I like that you're reframing, maybe explaining your intention more because then it doesn't discount everything else.
Absolutely. And I think that's a part of developing too. You need to be able to step outside yourself and say, okay, well, where can I get better here? What can I do?
Yeah.
Or in this particular case, what can I clear up for a kid that's in love and wants to get married? Maybe he's very religious.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the path. Maybe he saw it work with his parents and he wants nothing more. Dude, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Great.
I'd watch out for this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Here's the truth. Here's your risk. And here's what I would do about that risk. But outside of that, if that's what you want to do, man, because you know how it is. You can't tell a young man anything that he don't want to hear any damn way.
Right. Yeah.
So why am I going to tell him he's wrong?
Yeah.
He's got to make that decision for himself.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's a good take for sure. One thing that you did, it caught my attention earlier also was that text you had, I think it was regarding hate. What was that? The hate of the day or the...
Oh yeah. So one thing I do to kind of ground myself, because I get a lot of positive, you know, you do so good. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. We have what's called a list of hate.
Okay.
And it's a group text where I pay a guy to go through my comments and screenshot to me and my YouTube manager anything negative said to me.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is so I can reflect on what they said. So I can check myself to see if I feel like there's any truth in it.
Right.
And if there is any truth in it, then I know I can calibrate. But I just want to keep myself in reality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that's really healthy for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I get all this positive feedback. But if 1 in 100 are you're an absolute dickhead and asshole, I want to know.
Yeah.
And I really want to dig into why he might have said that or she might have said that.
Yeah.
And see if there's any truth. And a lot of times there's not.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes if I'm looking, a lot of the times, funny enough, I'm the one that catches it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sitting here talking like it happens a lot. It really doesn't.
Has there been one that you remember that you're like, hey, maybe I could do better on?
Nothing off the top of my, it's a lot of avatars, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But what if there is one that comes?
Yeah.
And what if I can get better? And what if my getting better changes a message that helps a young man?
Yeah. Down the road.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. That's one business system that doesn't make money, but I think is the most healthy system we have.
Yeah.
You know?
I noticed the hate on my page too. And I've had to check myself because I've been quick to like go back hard and like,
bro, that's too much energy.
I know. And just, you know, be it, if it's a stupid question and I'm a dick, who wins? No, I don't win. I mean, I was a dick to somebody, probably made them feel stupid. Is that a win? That's not really a win. So I'm pretty much not even, sometimes I'll pin the hate because I just want everybody to see, you know, I'm noticing this and it's all good and I'll pin it. But I don't know. I'm always rethinking on, I like that. When I saw that text, I like that idea, but because I think it is important to reflect and just to make sure, hey, did I miss something here? Am I getting, I mean, nobody wants to get too full of themselves. I think usually the hard work keeps that in check for me. And all the failures keep that in check, but still it's nice to have that. I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. I really like that system we have. It is very helpful to me. Yeah. Yeah. And also it kind of dumbs down any fear I would have used to have had around somebody saying something, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I understand that.
So I think it's probably one of the most healthy things that I have in my online business.
Well, I know starting off, you know, when you're working so hard and you think you're doing so good and you're not trying to offend anybody, you're trying to put your best work out there. And then somebody who knows what they're going through and you got one hateful thing that says something that judges you or takes a shot at you. It's almost like when it's early on and you haven't got a lot of it, it makes you want to I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like feeling like this. I'm just going to keep to myself and not have to deal with this. And so there is that time. Of course, now it's easy. You know, when you get 100 and one of them's negative, it's easy to ignore the one. But there was a time I remember when the hate actually hurt. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like,
was it from
doing my
somebody
best.
you knew, or was it somebody?
No, it would just have to be. I remember. So this was about 20 years ago. I was editor of this bow hunting magazine, and how it worked was I would write articles, and I loved writing adventure articles. So those are generally long articles, sometimes 7 pages on the magazine. Damn. And then because advertisers knew I was the editor, and it was kind of this, we were a new magazine, they'd say, well, we will advertise, but we want Cam in our advertisement. So turns out I was on 7.5 pages of the magazine, then I was on 3 or 4 ads in the magazine. And then there's people, you know, because bow hunting and hunting is, you know, it's a male dominated sport. Males have egos. I get it. They would see pictures of me and they'd be like, fuck this guy. I want to kill a good animal and I want to make in the magazine, but he's on every damn page is kind of how their perception was. So this guy wrote this article or wrote this letter into the magazine and it said, if I see another picture of Cameron Haynes, I'm going to puke. And 20 years ago, they sent me the letter, and I remember sitting there. It was, I think, Jeremy from Utah, and I remember that. And that, I mean, I was busting my ass because I was doing the editing after my regular job and like up all night and do my best. I'm like, oh, these advertisers believe in me and this is amazing. And then it's like, you know, shit like that hurts early on, you know? So yeah, I mean, stuff stands out.
What do you think Jeremy was going through though?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hunting is hard. So most people fail hunting. So I get it. And killing something big in something that's so hard to do already, and then getting pictures high enough quality to make a magazine, you're, you know, if you say killing a bull elk, 10% of the guys succeed. Maybe 1% of those, or less than one, kill a big bull. Then maybe less than that percent of that 1% take good pictures, good enough for a magazine. So you already have to buck so many odds to make it. Most people don't make it, and it's not going to happen. So I understand that there's jealousy and there's ego involved, and that's kind of what happens. But when you're the guy busting your ass, you take that personal.
You know, in that particular situation, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that they're going to want to say that you're going on guided hunts or you're paying, you know, you're shooting them in a pen or whatever it is. And, you know, I wrote something in the war room the other day. I told the guys, I said, you know, everybody was doing their end of year, what we call tales of victory. And I was talking about my real estate stuff. But one of the last things I left them with, I said, gentlemen, like, just remember to stay in bounds while you're crushing it. A lot of people are going to think you're cheating. But what's really going to burn them is when they find out they're getting outclassed.
Yeah.
And I think that's really true because people want to think that you're cheating sometimes, especially if they're hurting. Because a lot of those people are doing their best.
Right.
You know, and that's painful for them, and they're living through that, and they're angry. The dude wasn't angry at you.
Yeah.
He was upset with the situation.
Right. Yeah. With where he was and maybe what happened that day. Who knows?
Right. And maybe he's a good hunter.
Yeah.
But he didn't have that it factor that you had, or he didn't have the drive to write and then catch that good photo.
Right.
You know, and for that reason, a lot of times I feel like that's when people get attacked.
Yeah. And it's like, even me reading it, I wouldn't be that introspective as you just were on trying to figure. All you're saying is, fuck this guy. That hurts. Well, I don't want to do this anymore.
Also easy for me to say when I didn't get the letter. It's always easy when you're not sitting in it.
Yeah. Right? And at that time, I will say, so people and many people have said, oh, you hunt private ranch, you hunt the best place. I mean, you mentioned pen. I've never hunted in a high fence.
But I've heard people talk about, not about you, but like that's what people say.
For sure me. But yeah. And it's that they will say that. At that time, I will say, all I hunted was public land. I hunted. And actually, Oregon is about the worst elk hunting state.
Oh, you know that burn.
In all of them.
You know that burn, Jeremy. Take that, Jeremy.
So it's like first Utah is so much better than Oregon as far as hunting. So I had to overcome a shitty state, terrible elk hunting, and still kill. I mean, that's my first 6x6 bull right there. And it's a pretty damn good bull. And that took a lot of damn work. Anybody could have done it public land, over the counter tag. So, yeah, I mean, you know, but that's when it hurts the most because you're like, holy shit, do you know how much the sacrifices I made to do this? But that's just the way it goes.
You put your heart in it, man.
Yeah. So now it's easier to ignore because, hey, I get it. Now I have more perspective on it. I'm like, I understand. I was somebody like that. You know, when I was coming up bow hunting, it took me 8 years to kill a big bull. There was this guy in town who was killing big bulls every year. And I think for like 12 or 13 years straight, killed a 6x6 bull or bigger here in Oregon. I'm hunting Oregon, so I can't say this is a worse state or whatever. He was hunting the same state I did. He was killing big bulls every year. I couldn't kill one. He'd killed 12 or 13. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate this fucking guy.
Yeah.
I hate this guy. And there's no way. Yeah. And it's like, it drove me crazy. So I was that guy. I know how it works. I know how men operate.
You know what I find though is that once people develop, that they're okay seeing other people win.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Rogan was the number one guy who taught me that.
Yeah.
He and I have that in my book where he said, because I explained to him, you know, how I see it and I'm against everybody and, you know, I want to win. He goes, dude, there's enough cake for everyone.
Yeah.
There's enough cake for everyone. You don't, just because you're getting cake doesn't mean he can't have cake.
Absolutely.
And so that he was the one who taught me that, probably in 2014, which was, I was way down the road of life to just learn that. But yeah.
But that's how it happens.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, that earlier today, when you were talking about Joe's success, your face was lit up.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously there's been growth since then.
Yeah. No, I'm very, I'm happy for him. Just because you've seen Andrew Tate, the true Andrew. I've seen Joe, and I've seen how generous he is, how supportive he is. And I've told him, I said, I wish I believed in myself as much as you believe in me. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the type of person he is. So when I know he signs his big deal or he gets all the shine, I'm like, yes, it feels good to me.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's a very pure feeling because I love watching Andrew win.
Yeah.
I fucking love it, dude.
Well, I bet because you know him. You know what decisions he makes and how hard he works.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think that's true friendship. Mm-hmm. But I also think it says something about even me, and I'm not trying to brag, but I do think that a lot of times it's substantially easier to be happy for a person when you've done well yourself. Mm-hmm. Just like you've clearly done well and you're clearly happy for Joe. It's just, I do think it's easier to be graceful,
of course,
in those moments. I mean, just to give credit to the people that are still going through that, that climb. But yeah, man, I love seeing him win, and I like seeing you get happy about Joe winning. So it's a good thing, man.
Yeah, he's a big part of why I'm doing this right now. And I think, and you did mention that in regard to me starting the podcast and having Joe in my corner is like having an ace in your hand, right? Or ace in the hole. Yeah. So I wanted to turn that around and relay that into, I asked you about this, but it's like, yeah, of course I do have, with Joe's support, it's hard for this to fail,
Yeah.
But does everybody have an ace in the hole because of something they know or have access to, or can they turn something, even if it's a little win, into a big win in their life? Do you think everybody has access to something that they're not really cognizant of?
I don't know if they have it at your scale, but I think that if somebody works hard long enough, everybody gets dealt a hand in life. I think it's very important to sit back, look at the hand you're dealt, really identify which one of those things can get you to the highest vertical. And then you have to make the decision to do it. And over enough time and enough pressing, and I think networking is important. I think every person has the opportunity to put themselves in a great place.
Right.
If you were to look at all the people that are famous in the world, I think that you would find at the end of the day, if you spent any kind of time with them, you would realize they were normal people that worked really, really hard. And they might have had a gift here or there. And I look at like super, super great, like LeBron James. He was blessed by the gods.
Yeah.
Right. But he still had to work hard.
Yeah.
But take somebody else in the league, the guy that's sitting on the bench that somehow got to the league just because he really worked hard. I tell you, there's a guy he's from Baton Rouge, his name Collis Temple. He was never going to be a superstar, but he's been in the league for years just because he's a damn good man, and he's a great teammate, and he's a good leader, and he works hard. Yeah. And he learns offense. He's a professional. He doesn't have the gifts that LeBron has. Right. But he could also be working some nonsense job instead of playing for them in the NBA.
Yeah, so, I think with LeBron specifically being 6'8", 260, obviously that's a no-brainer. But he wasn't always 2'8" or 6'8", 260. He was a young boy who was obsessed with basketball, right, and worked on those skills incessantly, and then grew into that guy. Yeah. But the passion was there first,
right? And then at the same time too, like. Look how long he's been doing it.
Yeah, 20 years, over 20 years now. Yeah. In the league.
And my opinion is that NBA basketball players are the best athletes in the world. Yeah. I would never take anything away from Brady, but I think it's more impressive that LeBron's done it so long.
Oh, you got to be explosive.
Yeah.
I mean, Brady's not explosive.
Brady's doing it with his brain.
Yeah, never was explosive, but LeBron's these kids that come in.
Yeah, bro, it's retarded.
And he's still battling. I mean, it's impressive. It's man. Everybody can take shots at different political stances and different things, and because we've come up differently and believe different things, but you cannot take away from what he's done on the court.
Yeah. I mean, look, my vote is still MJ.
Oh yeah, me too.
But I think that's also a generation thing. But,
Yeah.
you know what? After watching The Last Dance, I always loved Michael Jordan, right? But I fell in love with Michael Jordan as a man.
Yeah. What, his winning mindset or what?
How he carried himself.
Okay.
He was nice to the staff. He was he seemed to be a good teammate. He took it very professionally. And I just liked the way he moved.
I just like that he was obsessed with winning.
Yeah.
And he made up. So it's either you were obsessed like he was or you were gone.
But that's like the shit we knew.
Yeah.
Right? We knew that about him.
Right, yeah.
So to see him move and interact in the small things, just like casual conversations, with like playing dice with his guys, before the game and stuff like that. I just love that about him, man.
One thing that struck me the most in that series was when he got emotional talking about how much he wanted to win. And he's like, and if you didn't feel that way, you know,
you gotta go.
But to me, that just, I mean, he's been retired now for I don't know how long, but he still was so connected and invested in that mindset that he still was getting choked up. Yeah. And it's like, that fucker wants to win more than anything. I mean, so if you're around somebody like that, so you mentioned something when I said, is everybody dealt a hand they got an ace in the hole they can play. I think a big part of nowadays with this online societies like the war room, before it was, if you weren't, like if I came from this little small town I grew up in, if somebody around there didn't have a winning mindset and like set these big goals, how would I, because that's all I knew. Now, anybody, small town, can join the war room, interact with somebody like you, Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate. And so they say that, the people you surround yourself with are going to dictate your future. Right. I mean, the most successful people in the world as far as making money goes, and you can interact with them. That's huge, isn't it?
The world's smaller than it's ever been, man.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing too. I got something for you on the list of hate.
Okay.
To answer your question.
I knew something would come up.
There was, and I think it's very important. This guy made this comment, and he said something. I was giving business advice on something, and he said, something along the lines of, you think you're this or that, but you're not Elon or you're not Bezos. And I immediately thought to myself, I need to make a video about this because he's absolutely right. I'm not. And the point that I would make is that those guys are such outliers that the point I'm really trying to make is that if they're the stars, shooting and landing on the moon will change the gap in happiness between me and those two men. I would suspect is very small.
Right.
The money gap is huge, but any young man that wants to better his life, he can. And if he can get from where he is to even just under me, his happiness level and his freedom and his ability to come meet and do stuff with a guy like you, or be able to go fly over the world and see things and do it's just completely different.
So you don't have to be Elon.
No, you don't.
You're not going to be.
You're not going to be.
Nobody. Yeah.
You're not going to be.
But that's okay.
But you can. I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't trade places with Elon.
Right.
Because Elon hadn't seen my Instagram inbox.
I like that.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I would and he deals with pressures that I don't deal with.
Right.
And maybe our life is to some degree different, but man, it's a good life.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned your Instagram inbox. So, I mean, Brandon always he asks me he wants to get, I guess, more of a connection. What foods do I like if I'm sad?
What?
I don't know, whatever, just ignore it. But anyway, so regarding your Instagram inbox, what do women want?
I think women want a man that knows who he is, a man that's going to take control of the situation, non-apologetically take the lead, and respect them. And the respect thing is something that I truly, with all my heart, believe you can do in a masculine way. You can't be out here just disrespecting women, calling them bitches and hoes or whatever. Yeah, I think you can sit down, be respectful, have a firm conversation, and even if they don't get what they want, you can do that in the right way, that leaves an opening for a relationship to be there, even if she doesn't like the structure.
Right.
You know, and that's been my experience. And I think that if you can open up and have some kind of vulnerability with strength,
yeah,
then I think that you can really be successful with women.
How do you define vulnerability with strength?
So you sit down, you got a hair on the table. I think you can sit down and you tell them your truth. Hey, listen, this is how I'm going to live my life. I respect you, so I'm not really trying to lie to you or play games with you or anything. I really want you around. I'd hate to see you go, but this is how it's going to be. You know, now it is your decision.
Yeah.
I'll respect it.
Just be honest.
I love you anyway.
Right.
And this is how it is. And then you got to hold your ground, you know, but you have to do that in a masculine way, which means that I'm not going to raise my voice. You know, I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum.
Cry.
You know, I'm definitely not going to cry. I'm definitely not going to cry. I said this on a show before. I believe that a man's job is to be the mountain that a woman's emotional waves crash into. If you can't give her structure like that, if you can't be the one that she can count on for safety, provision, particularly emotionally for me, obviously physically and all those other monetarily, yeah, sure. But emotionally is where I think most men miss. You have to be stoic. Right. You have to stand in it. Yeah. You have to be the answer.
Yeah. An emotional woman, an emotional man is not going to help an emotional woman.
No, he's not.
It's going to exacerbate the situation.
She doesn't need another girlfriend, bro.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So if she can respect you, she can love you. Andrew says this, I say this, I've experienced this. I can have women that fucking hate me and they'll sleep with me. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Punch me in the chest.
Why is that?
Because they're not getting their way, so they're throwing a temper tantrum. So when they're punching me in the chest, I'm literally the rock that their emotional waves are crashing into. I mean, but they have to respect you because you're not disrespecting them.
Yeah.
You're telling them the truth. They don't like it.
Yeah.
You're holding your ground. I believe that women lose respect almost immediately if she thinks she can roll over a man.
Right. Push them around.
And here's the thing. They call it shit testing, right?
Yeah.
A woman's going to shit test a man.
I haven't heard this.
Yeah. So they say if a woman tests you, she's shit testing you. I think it's naturally kind of this primal thing that women do to test you to see if you're going to be emotional or if you can't handle it, because she needs to know that you can handle it, because if you can't handle it, she needs to find somebody who can.
So it's not intentional.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. And I think women get a bad rap.
It's a red flag. Like subconsciously she's like pushes away probably if she sees that.
Yeah. Like, you know, you ever George Strait, table for two?
Yeah.
With candlelight and wine.
Yeah.
She didn't love him.
Right. Yeah.
She said, I've tried everything that I know of and I can't make the feeling go.
It's not there. Yeah.
She didn't love him.
Yeah.
He was sitting there simping with the ring. You know, I think that if there's not like a gap between the man and the woman, if she can't look up to you and feel like you are the reason she is a better person, then I don't think
not going to happen.
No, I don't think she can fall for you.
Yeah.
I was going to tweet the other day. It's like, if she doesn't cry when you leave, you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, and I'm not saying a woman can't have her own life, but if you can in some way be her world, I think you're probably falling short, because I think the most beautiful thing about love in the world is if a man can be the hero. And the reason I think that is because almost every fairy tale is written that way. And women read these fairy tales and they just want to get swept away and believe that he's going to be there and he's saving her from a cruel, cruel world, because that's what it is.
Right. Well, so what do you say with women? Say, well, why can't women be the hero?
It doesn't work that way.
That's not how the fairy tale goes?
No. Well, look, men and women are equal, but they do completely different things. And I believe that where men are unhappy is they don't feel appreciated, you know? And if a man can't feel like he's doing something to be appreciated and he's valuable, I think that's not very fulfilling for a man. Every man wants to be the hero.
Right.
And this is probably over the top, and I've said this before, but no man wants a woman he can't save from a castle and a dragon.
Right.
That's the good stuff about it.
Yeah.
And I don't believe a woman wants a man that she doesn't feel like is doing that for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just been my experience.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I mean, if that's what you've seen and that's what you've lived, then who's going to argue with that?
But like, does a woman really want a man she can't look up to and be like, man, he's competent, he's strong. Mm-hmm. When I need him, he's there. Yeah. I just, and all these guys that think they're going to cry on their girlfriend's shoulder, I just think that's a bad move. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
In every way, man. I think that's a bad move. You want to, be upset, man. That's what you got your partners for. Because here's the thing. What the fuck is she going to do about it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? Babe, I'm behind on the schedule on this job. Do you think she's going to put the roof on for me?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
And she's not going to stop the demand letter from the GC, and she's not going to fix the crane, and she's not going to push the boys. Yeah. So there's nothing for me to talk about with her.
Right. So that vent, if people want to say, well, I was just venting.
Well, vent somewhere else.
Yeah. Because it is impacting how she perceives you.
You're telling her you can't handle it.
Right. You're this close to breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens when people jump off ships?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to get off this ship's sinking.
That's a good point.
And it's survival, and they say, women will tell you this. I've had women tell me this. They're like, I'm going to love you good or bad or in between. And I think in my mind, you're never going to know whether I have a good day or not. Right. I tell them I can't have a bad day. Yeah. And she needs to believe you're that strong. Mm-hmm. It is your job. Yeah. And is that politically correct? Probably not now. But I think that if you look back at like the 50s or back when, men were a little bit stronger, I think it worked then. Yeah. In a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, I agree with that because to me, I had a hard time with that. That's why I never called in sick one day at my job because I'm like, they do not care how you feel. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter if your car breaks down. It's like, be at work. That's all that matters. Are you going to be here when you're supposed to be here? If you're not, none of that other shit matters. Yeah. So it's like, none of it, like you can say whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You got to win anyway.
It doesn't. It doesn't, especially in a man's world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. I don't know.
Frame is important, man. It's very important.
It's a tough time right now. I feel like men are under fire, but I also think that, I don't know. It's pretty clear on what's required of a man to me.
It is to me as well. Unfortunately, I think the world's changed a lot in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. A whole lot. And again, I think that's why this work is so fulfilling. Yeah. Because what I'm hoping is that maybe somehow, some way, we can help enough young men that they don't have to step on some landmines that I think some people are probably stepping on right now. Yeah. Getting their leg blown off.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I would rather take an ass whooping than have a heartbreak.
Yeah.
You want to talk about? I mean,
shit, heartbreak lasts years,
bro,
dude.
Yeah, you're 2 years, and it's shit, man.
An ass whooping is a day or two.
Yeah, I mean, you might be swollen up for a couple months, man, but come on.
No, I know heartbreak.
It messes everything up.
Yeah, and it affects future relationships too. Yeah,
all of it.
So if we can help people avoid that, then it's huge. And I do think I like your take on the man's role in a relationship. I agree with that. I mean, I think it's our job to be stoic, to not pass on all our reservations or worries. It's like, no, deal with it.
It doesn't help.
Yeah. I did remember too, I got some hate today. It was on yesterday's post and the guy said, he took a shot at me and Goggins. No, it was on the clip I put up of Goggins.
How you gonna take a shot at Goggins, bro?
He did, but he said, he goes, I'm just an overhyped bow hunter. So I remember that was a good one. And that was just today. So, I mean, I still notice, but
bro, you're like the most famous bow hunter in the world, bro. Get out of here.
I guess that would be overhyped then, right?
Not in my opinion. You helped me shoot them straight, bro. So.
Well, hey, and so speaking of that, how good was that today? How good was our lift, run, shoot? I mean, this is going to be its own YouTube series, so this is an addition to the podcast. But tell me about the lift, run, shoot day here in Oregon.
All right, let's start it off. So I fly in yesterday. Mm-hmm. I'm looking down. I'm like, well, this looks like God's country. Yes. So we land. We go. You guys set me up with a bow, man. Helped me get my hands right. Even when I was shooting a bow. Mm-hmm. When I was in college, I wasn't shooting Right.
Wayne Endicott at the bow rack got you dialed in.
Wayne is the man.
Yeah, so, he is.
I mean, you really got it to a science. You know, we were talking about like, you know, how the arrows and the torque, like, so obviously I want to be really tune. Interested in the mechanics and the engineering of it. And so all that got dialed in, and then we went this morning and shot. I was grouping good. Yeah. And then we went out 73 yards and got to pop the balloon, man. Yeah. Got to use the bubble because we ran out of pins, which was incredible.
Bottom pin was 60 yards.
Yeah, so we got that done, man. Made that shot, and then we started the hill part of the day, which is you trying to make me run up a mountain. So
you did run.
Yeah, I did. And then and I walked a bit, but whatever. It was a mountain, and then I get to the top and I think it's over, and you pull out a big ass boulder and you're like, we're going to carry this boulder down a mountain. And I said, well, yeehaw, cowboy, let's do it.
Oh, you did awesome. So definitely a beast built for that.
We got the boulder down the mountain, loaded up in the truck, came back, and then we had a hell of a workout. So you've been testing my cardio the whole time I've been here. It was my first workout in 12 weeks. You know, I had my shoulder surgery like 8 days ago, 10 days ago. I can't remember, but my doctors will be pissed when they see it, but it'll be too late. So, and man, I had an incredible time for sure. Still having fun. So, learning a lot. I like your structure and your setup, man.
Oh, thank you.
It's sick.
Yeah. I mean, it means a lot to me that you'd come all the way out here and share this day with me, which you know, it's hard to know what to expect. People on Instagram are maybe not as they are in reality. I'm pretty much, it is what it is. It's what I do. And you came out here, you kicked ass and everything. I mean, shooting at 73 yards is difficult. The mountain is difficult, let alone the rock. And then in the weight room, of course, you've been doing this your whole life, so it's no surprise you were great there. But it means a lot to me you come out here and share a complete day with me. And then we'd get fueled with wild game. We had deer steak chili, and then we had elk for dinner. It's like, can it get any better?
No. To anybody that's coming, just know it's going to be time to work, you know? So for any of you guys come behind me, just go ahead and get ready, man. You might want to take a couple laps around the neighborhood before you come, because it's going to be intense, man. But I enjoyed it as well. You know, I don't look at myself as a YouTuber. I'm just a normal guy doing my best. Yeah. You know?
Well, that's what resonated with me, you know, on Jedediah's podcast is you seemed, that was it. It's like you just worked your ass off, and now I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like you're at the pinnacle and you're still going.
Man, you know what's crazy about, like, if you don't continue to grow and you don't continue to move the goalposts, I think you'd be unhappy, you know, but I don't think I'm anything more than a normal guy that tried really hard. Yeah. You know, and I still fail, and I still think everything I do is not enough. And I would tell anybody that feels like they haven't done enough, you know, you just keep working hard and look up in 7 years. Yeah. See how you do then.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the thing. That's what people struggle with, is keeping their head down and working. Yeah. They want that reward
right now,
too quick.
Right. Yeah. And I think I've been blessed in a lot of ways in my life, because Instagram wasn't as popular when I was 24. It wasn't even around, you know, and I have those old 80s baby roots. Right. You know, and to any young men that are struggling with that, man, I think that every generation gets a new set of problems that come with a new set of opportunities. And I try to remember that when I look at the young guys, because they grew up with it and I didn't. It came and I was an adult already. Yeah. And so I had some of those kind of more old school, be seen, not heard, you know, talk with your pads, work hard, shut up. Yeah. You know, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm not so
it gave you an advantage.
Yes, sir. I'm not so arrogant to believe it didn't. Yeah. You know, and so what I would hope to do is put some of that into the guys that watch me and hope that I can give it back in that way. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever be super polarizing. You know, I don't think I'll ever be anything other than somebody that just tells the truth and does my best while I'm trying to help them. Right. You know, because I'm still climbing mountains too. Yeah.
Well, that's what I see you doing your best. I mean, you did your best today.
Bro, you almost fucking killed me.
Oh, it was great. So if there's young men watching, and so how much does a Bugatti cost? Do you know?
I think Andrew's is $5 million.
$5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does somebody do if they're watching this as a young man and they want to drive a Bugatti?
I would tell you that it's very likely that you'll find happiness long before you reach the wealth of Andrew and a Bugatti. And that kind of ties into what I said earlier. I personally would rather buy a property and make for damn sure.
$5 million will buy a lot of doors.
Yes, sir.
Won't
It'll
it?
buy a whole lot of doors.
And then I'll be making money for years.
And that's where I'm putting all my M's right now. I'm just shoving them into real estate. And you know, and really trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Because, you know, I think everybody has a window of opportunity in their life. And I feel like I'm in mine right now. And the number one thing I'm trying to do is not mess it up.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm really grateful to even have the opportunity to do it in the first place. So I love my Ford.
Yeah.
I do have a G-Wagon. It's a nice little tax write-off. But I didn't trade that Ford in.
Right.
F-150, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, because if I'm being honest, if I had to pick one or two, I'd pick that truck.
You can't show up to the job site in a G-Wagon.
Nope. And I have my gun under my seat and my whiskey in my console.
There you go. You're ready.
Yeah. So put Aldine on. I'm going to take a drive. Man.
Oh,
Hey, bro,
we talked about Aldine.
Bro, I love Aldine.
The GOAT.
Man. Yeah, he's bro. Him and George, bro. That's my favorite too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I just want to end this first of all with giving you.
That's right.
This.
Yeah.
And officially welcoming you to the Keep Hammering Collective Bow Hunting Brotherhood. Yeah. There's your Hoyt.
Incredible.
The Keep Hammering Hoyt that you shot so well today.
It did. It went really well.
So that marks the end of our lift, run, shoot experience and the day here in the studio, doing all we do, doing podcasts, and that's your bow to take home. And I just want you to know again how thankful I am that you came out here to Oregon.
Yeah,
appreciate
man,
you.
It means a lot to me. I'm so grateful, and I really appreciate it. I hope we get to find a way to work again.
We
together.
will.
Absolutely.
We will. I mean, I'm paying attention to what you're doing. Keep it up. Love it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. You're an outlier. Appreciate it.
Every step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use. Every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless. My fault, they want someone to blame. They sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the fuel.